Okay, the equation here is the function of x is equal to x times the cosine of x. Now, this is how it's written in the book. In your calculator, however, you're going to hit x times cosine, and then when you hit the cosine button, you get this parenthesis. So you put the x in there and then close the parenthesis like that. Okay? And the first one is going to have a limit of 0. So x approaches 0 for this. So now we go back over here. We go back to the y and we punch in x cosine x close parenthesis. And then we hit, now we know that we're not in the standard mode. Now, I'm going to show you a key on there that may or may not work. I've already tried this and I found out that it didn't work. I thought it might, but it didn't go very well. The fact that cosine is a trigonometric function, I thought it might be an option that when you hit zoom, there's a key there that says Z trig, and there's a trigonometric function you can use for that. It turns out for this problem, you're better off using the zoom standard. When should you use that? When should you not? Just kind of have to punch it in and experiment and see what works best for you. So in this case, I'm going back to zoom standard, so it's going to go back to -10 to +10, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the graph looks like this. Okay, but we're not using the graph this time. For number 3, we're going to actually do the calculation. So we're going to plug in 0 for this, but this is what the graph looks like. It's kind of a goofy looking triple curve thing that eventually will repeat itself. So we put f sub 0 is equal to 0 times the cosine of 0. Okay, so we're done with the calculator. Well, actually, no, we're not done with the calculator. That's the next section. Sorry, I got confused. 0 cosine 0, we're going to stick with the graph of that. So there it is. And again, you look at the point at which the intersection takes place, and you can tell it's at the point 0, 0. So when x is 0, the limit is going to be 0. So that's part A. Part B then, this is where x approaches pi over 3. And so what we're going to do with that is the same thing. We still have the graph. We haven't really done anything with it. So we're going to keep this graph right here, and we're going to use the value for pi over 3. Well, these numbers are all values of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So we need to calculate pi over 3. So you would go to second quit, get the blank screen back, and hit second pi divided by 3. Pi is right above the button below the clear. It's kind of rubbed off mine. I can't really tell what it is. But when you do that, this pi over 3 and hit enter, you get 1.047. So you're going to go, again, we're going to do the zoom thing and the zoom in and the trace and all that stuff. And get as close to x equals 1.047 as we can get. Okay? So we go back to, now we hit graph just to take a look at what the old graph was. We don't have to go through the whole process again. Once you made the graph, you can rely back on the graph by hitting the graph button. And now we're going to hit trace, and it's at 0, 0 again, and we want to go to 1.047 for x. You look at the bottom there, x and y. We're going to follow the x until we get as close to 1.047 as we can get. So 0.42, 0.63, 0.85, 1.06 is really close, closer than 0.85. So I'm going to hit zoom, zoom in, and hit enter. And you can see that's a portion of the graph now from what I had. Well, if you look on your calculator, it's a portion of the graph. Now, if I go too fast, just pause and get caught up and then continue on from there. Okay? So, we hit the trace button again. We got 1.06, 1.01 as I go to the left, 1.010, so that's only 0.37 away, and we go back to the right where I was, I get 0.016 away. So the 0.0163 is actually closer than the 0.010. So I'm going to leave it at 1.06, and then I got the trace on, so I hit zoom, and then I hit 2 again for in, and enter. And now you can see that this is getting more and more inside there. I hit trace, and then I go a little bit to the left. I got 1.05, that's really close. 1.037, so I go back to 1.050, which is 0.003 away. So I'm getting really close now. So I got my trace, and then I'm going to hit zoom, in again, and enter. And this might be very close to what I need. Hit trace, and because I'm 1.05, which is a little bit to the right of where I want to be, I'm going to hit the left arrow. And 1.047 is right there, and round it off, and that gives me 0.524. So y equals 0.524. And that turns out to be the correct answer. In fact, if you go back through and multiply that by pi, so we go to the calculator, because we want it, if we want it in terms of pi, we can find out by multiplying this by pi to get that out. So let's do that and see what happens. I'm sorry. No, let's divide that by 5. Let's do that. So second, quit, and let's take 0.524 and divide it by pi. Second pi, and we get yes. Okay. And we get 0.1667. If you know fractions and decimals, 0.1667 is approximately 1/6. So this is going to be equal to pi over 6. And then double check and take pi over 6 and make sure you get 0.524. So that's how we do that. So there's a lot of manipulations involving with the graphing. So if you're not sure what happened, redo this part again and see if you can follow along again and come up with it. And if not, let's talk about it in class. Okay? All right.